Maggie Scivicque is the Vice President of Marketing at Arc Thrift Stores in Colorado and the host of the Get Thrifty Podcast. The Get Thrifty Podcast is a podcast for thrifters, DIYers, collectors, lovers of anything vintage, and for anyone who loves the thrill of finding something amazing treasures in unexpected places. So there, Maggie gets to talk about what she loves to do and all the things she loves. Maggie also loves yoga, and she's a little bit of a fan of Dolly Parton, which I think is kind of an under exaggeration since I see Dolly right behind her as she sits. We're excited to welcome Maggie to the Seller Community Podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Maggie. I've been on your show. Teresa Cox has been on the show. Clara and Amanda have been on the show. Now it's time to pay us back.
Douglas, you're only supposed to think those things. You're not supposed to say them out loud.
Did I say that out loud?
Yes.
All right, so Maggie, but thanks for coming on. So tell us a little bit about Arc Thrift Stores. Let's start there.
Absolutely. And, I love it that we get to chat about Arc Thrift Stores. I get so caught up in the guests that come on our show that I often forget to talk about how awesome Arc is. We typically get it in, but this is just a cool opportunity to really showcase Arc Thrift Stores of Colorado. We are a 55-year-old nonprofit. Our mission is to enhance the lives of people right here in the state of Colorado with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we do that by funding 15 ARC chapters across the state. So the chapters provide services to families of people with IDD, services in school, help with housing, independent living, law issues, legal issues, those kinds of things. And our role as the thrift stores is to make as much money as possible to fund those chapters. So that's why I get up every day, is to make as much money as possible through the thrift stores as our major fundraising mechanism.
Awesome.
So Maggie, tell us how the Arc Thrift mission resonates with you personally.
I used to work in the for-profit world for many years. I've talked to Doug about my past. We have some mutual connections from years gone by. I was with Papa John's Pizza for many years, a wonderful company, but it was really time for me to find a new spot. Living in Colorado, new to Colorado, the franchise sold, and I really felt like it was time to find a place in the nonprofit world. I had been doing a bunch of cause marketing programs through Papa John's Pizza and Arc Thrift Stores. We did a giant fundraiser for Volunteers of America with a food drive. I met some wonderful people, and it was just the perfect connection. And I thought it was time to stop clogging arteries for a living and, find a way to really, give back to my community. And Colorado is such a cause marketing mecca. I really found this home with Arc. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be in thrift, but it is never a dull moment, as you both know well. It is like its own little world and community, and I couldn't be more delighted to represent this organization for the state of Colorado.
Amazing. And just a quick note, Maggie and I connected over pizza because I love pizza so much. So, and you just mentioned this, is like you never thought that you would connect with, basically a thrift store, thrifting, things like that. How did you connect with Arc Thrift Stores?
Years and years ago, I dated a guy, shout out Van Carter, that was very into reselling NASCAR die-cast toys, little die-cast cars. And he had, no joke, thousands of them. So I got really, really good as a marketer in writing descriptions for him and helping him to sell those things. He was also really into vintage Schwinn bicycles, which was a fascinating little niche that I didn't even know existed. So that was my first taste of eBay, my first taste of reselling. And he made quite a deal, a lot of money. He made a lot of money. And it was one of those things where I kind of realized at that point, wow, there's some money to be made. That was in the late 90s. I never thought I'd be back to it, but it really kind of opened up my eyes to what's possible in terms of reselling online and, him finding things at thrift stores. He kind of introduced me to that world. And then when I found Arc, the thrift stores in Colorado are so just different than California. there are these giant warehouses. It's like the Costco of thrift. And it's just overwhelming and huge. And I think that kind of spoke to me as well. And then having the mission attached to it, it was kind of the perfect storm, you know?
So can you tell us what you, as the vice president of marketing, what you do for them specifically?
You know, I would love to say it's just doing the podcast, right, Doug? But
Yeah.
no, it's not. There's so much more to it. You know, right now I'm in the middle of we're starting to open a store off Sheridan and Hampton. We've got a delay. It's supposed to be a ribbon cutting on Thursday. There's a delay with the city. You know, I deal with pretty much all of those things. I was lamenting about, you know, some sales that, you know, we're trying to revive. We just had our big children's sale. So my job really is marketing the entire brand to the state and getting as many people as possible to shop thrift. You know, the metrics that I'm kind of measured on definitely are customer counts, sales. You know, we treat this, my CEO treats Arc Thrift Stores as a traditional retail business, which is sort of unusual in the thrift world and the nonprofit world to really treat it as a business and, you know, have metrics that we're all held accountable to. It keeps it fun. And I love that part of it. So my main job is marketing and then side project, the podcast.
Awesome. That's a good side project to have.
Mm-hmm.
So do you sell online yourself, or have you ever, besides helping that ex-boyfriend?
No, absolutely not. But you know, my only real, you know, example is I am also in charge of our gala. The Arc Thrift Stores, we hold one of the largest galas in the state of Colorado, huge event, and we do a virtual online auction. So that's really my only example of like selling online, is that little, you know, also side project that I'm responsible for. And it's very fun because a lot of the items that we put online are like weird things we find in our store. Like last year we did a suit of armor, 7 feet tall, full suit of armor that was donated. So those kinds of things come to me and then we get to like research them, put them on our auction and sell them through our auction site. Just sold a basketball that was signed by the Nuggets. We decided to put that on early since the Nuggets had such a banner year.
Nice.
Sold for $5,000, you know,
Wow.
so that was pretty exciting. So that's kind of my only taste each year of being able to sell online is our online gala auction, which anyone in the country can bid on our items and we ship all over the country. It's pretty phenomenal.
Even
Okay,
the
so
suit of armor?
Mm-hmm. The suit of armor sold locally. Thank you, God. I mean, that one was scary. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, please let this be a local buyer. And we delivered it to their home. This year I have this, like, I can say this on here, right, Doug? It's like this lady that looks like she's in bondage. It's like totally silhouette of a woman in full black bondage. It's a lamp. I mean, it's retailing online for $1,200. Doug takes notes.
I was
I'll
going
send
to
you
say,
the
Doug,
link.
don't bid, Doug. Use someone else's name, Doug.
It's
All right.
pretty exciting. This thing is cool. It's retailing for $1,200. Hopefully we'll get someone to buy it now for $5,000, but it's fun. It's weird. Again, it was donated. I think that's one of the cool things that makes our auction the most unique. Even the gift cards that we auction off, you can bid on virtually, are gift cards that were donated in people's purses or the back of their jeans. So
Oh, yeah.
all of these things it's really cool. So I have a whole team that's what they do. A good chunk of the year is get we call them the found gift cards that come
Oh.
into people's wallets or whatever. And then we look them all up and put them all together and create $100 gift card to Starbucks or whatever, you know, with
That's
the
cool.
remnants.
That
It
is
it
cool.
is pretty awesome.
That's
That
cool.
is cool.
So since you're not a reseller and you don't thrift, how did the Get Thrifty podcast come about?
You know, it's a great question. You know, I'm a huge podcast listener myself. Shout out the Morning Toast, Juicy Scoop. I listen
love
to
Juicy Scoop.
Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald. So I definitely am a huge podcast listener. The real story is I was doing my master's at CSU 2017, 2018, and they were trying to really gear up to get more people to do their executive MBA, you know, try and get people to sign up for this program right before COVID. And I said, oh, I'd love to do a podcast for you guys and share the stories of all of, everyone has these stories, whether they just got out of, finished their undergrad and are doing their master's, or like me, they were 40 years old and decided to do their master's, why they wanted to do it, what it did for them, and the benefits. So we started telling these stories, and I was like, God, I really like doing this. I should figure out how to do this for ARC. And, at the time, there was kind of this adversarial relationship that we were trying to break away from with resellers, where, we wanted to embrace our resellers. A reseller at Arc Thrift Stores comes to 5+ stores in one day. These are a viable piece of our demographic, something we cannot ignore. And we thought, well, let's start talking to them. Let's do a little show. Let's talk to people who upcycle. Let's talk to our customers who love thrifting. And it really grew from there to where we were like, oh my God, there's people all over the country who do this. Oh my gosh, this community is so vibrant. The stories are insane. Doug and I really connected on the stories of these wonderful people who are either making a living reselling, or they're doing this passion. They left corporate America. They're putting themselves through college. They're feeding their kids. The stories blew me away. And just like this wonderful podcast, I wanted to talk to every last one of them and get to know them. And I want them to be my friends. I'm grateful that they let me into their world. It's such a ride. And never in a million years did I think it would go this crazy. I had a girl this morning email, can I be on? Yes, the answer is yes. Email me, tell me your story. I'd love to have you on.
Awesome. Awesome. And do you have a voice acting or radio background or anything like that?
No, I've told you my story of the way that I really got into, being okay with the whole voice thing was at Papa John's. I was, 20 years old, and they asked me to do the on hold message. Little known fact, some parts of Los Angeles, you can still hear my voice when you call. For more great specials, order online at papajohns.com. So that's how I got started. And my mentor was like, call up the radio stations, get to know how to do the N correctly, say the S's correctly. And, in San Diego, where I really, came of age as an adult, you could talk to the DJs there. You could get to know the radio. They were so welcoming. It was such a small market. So I got to learn those kinds of things. And I was the face of Papa John's when we just opened our first store in San Diego. I would go on TV for them. And, I was so young, they just threw me in and I figured it out. I'm definitely not professionally trained at all. And, hopefully I'm on the right track. Some days are better than others. And I listen to myself and I'm like, oh my God, you don't want to hear your own voice, but that's
Okay,
really
so
how I got into it.
I have a big problem then. So if Doug knows what I'm going to say, if saying words correctly and not having an accent are a prerequisite to be a podcast host, you guys should just fire me right this second, because I definitely say reseller. I definitely say, ka. Like, there's no getting away from
Those
it.
are beautiful things. That's my favorite part of being the host of the Get Thrifty podcast is the accents. I think I say that every time because the Canadians, the New Yorkers, the Bostonians, it's amazing. The Southerners, I absolutely love the accents. So bring it on. I think the
Okay.
more of that, the better. People like
Okay.
hearing that. It's real, it's reality. And as a Californian, we don't hear accents that much. I don't know if you have the same experience, Doug, but the first time I heard somebody from Minnesota, when I got off the plane in Colorado, I was like, oh my God, I'm absolutely obsessed. I love that accent, but I had never heard it in my life. Californians, we just don't have those accents. We're missing out on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm from New York. I lost my New York accent when a friend teased me mercilessly because I talked a lot like Trish. Yeah, he teased me and I consciously lost it. But
Oh, it's so sad. I think it's a beautiful thing, accents.
If he had teased me, I would have punched him in the face. That was putting into that right there.
it's Boston.
Like a true Bostonian New Yorker.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. East Coast. Any kind of East Coast accent. I love it.
So what can listeners expect to hear on the Get Thrifty podcast?
Oh my gosh. We've interviewed every kind of person you could possibly imagine. I love some of these makers that are just so creative, and they are taking Lady Forge. I can't remember where she's from right off the top of my head, but she takes old spoons and forks and designs jewelry from them. The stories are the best part. And, I'm a marketer at heart, so I'm always like interested in, these wonderful people who have become influencers in this space. In a million years, did I ever think that the people that I'm talking to, especially right here in Colorado, they're going to reach out to me during my sales days, like this children's sale, for instance. They're reaching out to me. We're reaching out to them. They're going into our stores and they're creating content in our stores. They're tagging us. That is the most valuable piece of marketing. I can't even pay enough money for it. It's so tremendous that these young men and women across our state, they use the content for their own good, but then they do these great videos for us that have gone viral. Some of them get great viewers. It's incredible to have their influence. And when a young gal is in a thrift store saying, I got it at Arc, it's just the most valuable piece of content for me. And I couldn't be more excited. To me, that's the most valuable part of our podcast, is the influence that it's grown for us on all of our other social channels. Definitely.
That is
I
cool.
think what's really interesting, and this is kind of an aside, you just made me think of this. What really is interesting to me is that you embrace resellers. That is something that a lot of thrift stores do not publicly do, and they don't go out of their way to embrace us. And I think, especially if you're a clothing reseller, there is an abundance of clothes. People do not understand how many clothes end up in landfills, how many clothes we have to burn every year. And so if we could, I think that what you're doing is fabulous on lots of levels. Of course, what you do is fabulous and why you're doing is fabulous. But I also think it's fabulous for our community, because I do think that we would get further if other thrift stores would see the light, so to speak. I mean, I think it would be good for everybody. So I'm sorry, go ahead, Maggie.
And I love that you said that. That to me is a really important distinction that I think we're trying to create as a leader in this industry in the state of Colorado. And as we grow, hopefully, God willing, we go out of state here in the next few years. Is really to have those good relationships and understand the value. Like I said, a reseller, a DIY, or a maker, they shop 5+ stores in a day. I can count on them. I can count on them to come and buy during Halloween and really, help us out. I was saying to Doug that we're, having some issues with sales at the moment, but I know that this is just a weather issue. Things are going to turn around. Give me 2 weeks and I'll be singing the praises again. But I count on the resellers. We rely on them. They truly are great. Now, that being said, we're not perfect at it. It's we have a lot of old school employees that have been with us for 20+ years. We've been around for 55 years. I have employees who've literally raised their kids in the back room of our stores. So breaking that cycle of it being this adversarial relationship has been growth and change over the years and taken time. And we're not perfect, but this podcast is an opportunity to share and hopefully make it better every time we go on air and say, come to Arc, source from another state, see how great we're doing at this, and then give me feedback if we're not, so that's been a learning opportunity too.
Well, with that said, with everything we just said, can you pull out a couple of episodes or a couple of guests that you think epitomize everything we just said? Maybe that really...
Absolutely. I mean, I had a moment with Doug. I'm not going to lie. I tell everyone this because we discovered this joint love of some old music, and we'll get there eventually today. But, when you connect with these guests, sometimes it's this moment of oh my gosh, I have a new friend for life, and, I mean, you probably experience all the time. It's so special to connect on, whether it's Dolly Parton or whatever this shared love of thrift is, and resale or vintage or items, or there's just so many ways to connect. But the Doug episode was one of my favorite, but I also loved, I don't know if either of you heard it, but we interviewed a gal out of Ireland named Valerie, and she's French. She runs a charity shop in Ireland, and she told this great story of, hearing someone from Colorado in her store, this family came in, and they were obviously American, and she was kind of listening to them, and she heard them talk about Colorado, and then she heard them talk about Arc Thrift Stores, and she was like, oh my God, you know Arc? Do you know the Get Thrifty podcast? She was able to share that with them that many miles away, but it inspired her. She was like so happy that they knew Arc Thrift Stores. She reached out and said, let me tell you about charity shops in Ireland. Yes, please.
Yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
That's cool.
I mean, those kinds of things happen all the time. Laura Caldwell, I was so obsessed with her. She does these like thrift tours around the world. I mean, there's so many. I hesitate to even pick one. There's been some really cool moments that make me go, no matter what, I want to keep this going at all costs. Sometimes I'm doing it in the dead of night because, you know, my boss has me running on 50 things and I got to like push it back and things come up. You know, I had to reschedule on you guys once. You know, there is a real job in this too, but gosh, the podcast part of it is so rewarding. It really is.
Yeah, it is fun. We love it too. Trish does too.
I do.
So, Maggie, you have a team you work with. So tell us a little bit about that, how that came together and how that works.
Sure. I mean, I have, you know, two teams here. I work with an ad agency out of Longmont, Colorado. It's a little bit up north, kind of near Fort Collins. And they are wonderful. They actually were really, you know, fans of the coming up with the Get Thrifty podcast and really pushing it the way that we do. You know, they work with me on everything from like, you know, 3 social media posts a day, opening the new stores, all the things that go into the PR. We're really pushing this week. National Thrift Store Week is August 17th. So we're, you know, trying to get a coupon out for that, going on the local news to talk about it. Our local paper interviewed us for that. Any chance I get to promote the Get Thrifty podcast, of course, I'm trying to slip that in. Super important, but I love working with that agency. They're kind of a boutique agency. They've been with me a lot of years. I actually did our very first Facebook post with Papa John's, with that team. So I'm very close to them and love what, you know, how they've grown with me over the years. When Facebook was like, oh God, do we even have to do this? Is this worth it? And now like we would die without it. Right. All these social channels. So that's my ad agency team. But then I also have a team here that's a lot of fun. Gerda and Mark are my merchandisers, and you know, we buy all of the Halloween product. A lot of our Halloween product is used, but a portion of it is new. We actually go to Halloween shows and we buy wigs, makeup, accessories, and then the base foundation is your gently used costume, you know. So that team is a lot of fun too. They are pulling their hair out at my warehouse right now because of course Halloween is coming in hot and heavy. We're gearing up for Tour de Fat out in Fort Collins, one of our college stores where the kids go nuts, and we have to be ready for all the fraternities and sororities to come back. We have to have Halloween on the floor. You know, your ladies that you interviewed from Boss are like hounding me. Come on, when do we need to plan our trip? Because once Halloween hits the floors, they want to shop all that vintage that we keep year round. So that part is so fun. I mean, every day is fun at this job. There's literally never a dull moment, but shout out Gerda and Mark. They are much older. They have really cool stories. I've been begging them to be on the podcast. Gerda was an original Macy's buyer in the 60s.
Wow.
She should be long retired, but she's like, if I retire, I'll die. So I'm like, just keep going, girl. And she runs circles around me. And then Mark also worked for May DNF, formerly Macy or pre-Macy's. And he was a florist, and he is just so creative. He does all my gala decor. When I go on TV, the TV stations want us to bring these elaborate sets, you know, Halloween costumes. Last year, we've done this for 3 years in a row. Actually, we do the Hocus Pocus sisters, very elaborate costumes, and all of it from Arc. So that's a big part of our year is the Halloween department year. But I'm going to Boss this year. I'm gonna ditch for 4 days and go to the Boss reseller event right in the middle of our Halloween season. So they may murder me, but that'll be exciting.
So tell us, I mentioned her at the beginning, and she's behind you right now, Miss Dolly Parton, who is a treasure. So tell us where that came from, and you know, what's the tie-in? I'm assuming you're a super fan.
I do love Dolly Parton. I mean, really, it's an homage to my grandmother. And my grandmother, Betsy, was from the South. Like I said, Cajun French is our background. So she was a science teacher. And every year she would wear a different colored wig in her school picture, and she saved them all. And she had very large breasts, and she was totally unapologetic for it, a very deep accent. So she was really my own personal Dolly Parton. She was wild and crazy, and she never had a bad word to say about anyone. I mean, to the extreme, never said anything negative about anyone ever, ever, ever. She was only Miss Positive, very much Dolly Parton-esque. And she always talked about, my grandmother was a single mom, raised my dad as a science teacher, and there were lean times, very similar to Dolly Parton, where it was, a tough growing up. It was, thrift stores or secondhand in general was their life, right? So she's a nod to vintage in a way. She's a nod to, low income shoppers, and to my grandmother. And she just brings me peace and happiness. So I always like to give a nod to her. That Coat of Many Colors song, I mean, it just speaks to a lot of thrifters. People understand that secondhand message and growing up that way. And I think that, um, Dolly just brings everyone together. So it's a little bit of a roundabout story, I guess, but nobody has a negative thing to say about Dolly. She's the like common thread. We can all be united by Dolly Parton.
She's the sweetest.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that is cool. That is cool. So obviously you'd love to have Dolly on the show.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Exactly.
Well, who else is on the guest wish list?
oh my gosh, maybe you can get this person, Doug. You know her, I'm sure. Bailey Sarian, she does that crime makeup tutorial. Have you guys ever seen her?
I love her. She's
She's
Oh.
amazing.
She is.
Who you're talking
So it's probably been a year now. She did a post on decorating her house in 100% thrift and vintage. And I was like, we have to have her on. So we have pitched her a couple times. She's obviously way too powerful and cool for us, which I respect. But you never know. So that's like our big whale, besides Dolly. Of course, I would literally die for Dolly Parton, but I'd say Bailey is a close second to that, because she really does live this lifestyle. She has a great following, and I love the stories that she tells. I'm sure she has like some kind of tie to thrift that is even like more deep seated and funky and weird, which is, it would be the dream. So she's definitely the big fish.
Interesting.
Okay, so other than Bailey, what's next for the Get Thrifty podcast? Anything on the horizon?
One of the reasons I really wanted to do this, and this goes back to even, going back to school for the master's, I wanted to have a seat at the table when Arc Thrift Stores expanded into other states. We consult with a lot of our chapters, our sister chapters across the country. And we have recently signed a deal, hopefully with Albuquerque, to open a store there. That's kind of next on the horizon.
Nice.
And we will help that chapter and really get ingrained in that community, hopefully. But I feel like the Get Thrifty podcast is a great way to kind of usher us into these other states, right? It allows us to be friendly with that cool thrifter down in Albuquerque, who I still need to find. Shout out if you're out there, come on the show. And then go into that next state. Who knows where that is? But hopefully we've made a friend through the pod. So we have these built-in influencers who will come and check out our stores and shop and spread the word for us. So that really is the next big, big goal. It's probably a few years out, but fingers crossed it's closer than I think it is.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, now we're going to talk about Boss Reseller Remix. You're going to be there. We're going to be there. There's going to be like 4 podcasts there.
Oh, cool.
And then you can hear me say, I remember 3 years ago when I was the first podcast here, you kids with your little portable recorders and stuff. So, but we're excited to meet you in person, but you're going to be there and you're going to be speaking. So tell us about that a bit.
Yeah, we're really excited. I just set up our like display behind, where we'll actually do the podcast. So I'm pretty excited about that. I need to ship that out to Vicky and Katie. And Yeah, I'm going to be chatting about marketing, which is so interesting to me because I feel like I'm going to be in a room full of these like influencers that are doing it so much better than the local thrift store. You know what I mean? So, I hope to share some, fun little quips about what I've learned over the years and, what I hope to learn while I'm there that week. I can't wait. I'm bringing one of the gals from my ad agency. I call her my partner in crime, Lisa, and she's this tiny little thing and she will walk up to anyone and won't hesitate to ask a million questions. So I'm hoping to like get people in to come and record. Maybe our goal is kind of like 6 to 8 people, hopefully recorded during that time frame. And then hopefully, Doug, you're in the front row when I'm speaking so I don't like throw up. I don't know. People are always like, Maggie, you're so good at talking in public. I'm like, yeah, but I really do get nervous right before. So
All right. Well, I have that calming effect.
Thank God. I'm really hoping you do because I'm a little nervous, but
Oh, well.
But what a cool opportunity to, share the Get Thrifty podcast, meet these people in person. And some of the following that you guys have is just incredible. And the names, Voodoo Lobster. I mean, so many fun, creative names on all these resellers. I just can't wait to meet them in person. And if they're as nice as they are to me on the podcast in person, then I'm sure I have nothing to worry about. But I'm really excited. It's a really cool opportunity.
You have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
It's great. Resellers are great. When they get together, it's hysterical. Boss is wonderful. You'll have a great time.
It really is exciting in that we've been like welcomed into this community as a thrift store. We could really be viewed as outsiders. So I'm loving that we've been accepted and we're not like the enemy. So that's very exciting. I'm trying to do this whole thing and I've invited Doug, Trish, please come out. I want to like show people our warehouse, really show you guys what we're all about, show you the back room of our stores. We want to be as transparent and open about how we run this business and why things are priced the way they are. We don't have time to be looking. People are always saying, oh, you check the prices on eBay. Give me a break. We got a quota. That's not happening. We are all about volume,
Yeah, exactly. So tell us where people can find you, where they can listen to the podcast.
Yep. The Get Thrifty podcast is available literally anywhere you find your podcasts. Same as List Perfectly, Spotify, iTunes, all the places. You can find us at Arc Thrift on Instagram. You can find me at Podcast with Maggie on Instagram. We're just really excited to be part of this community and that everyone's welcomed us. My goal in life is to get people to shop our stores. So hopefully if you're, in the process of planning your last minute summer sourcing trips, hit up Colorado. Besides Arc, we have a huge number of mom and pop thrift stores and chains that do an excellent job in our community. We all want to help each other. And the goal is, if you're going to hit my neighboring mom and pop, hit Arc as well.
Awesome. And, Trish and I say this all the time, but it's true. We know, like, I wouldn't say everybody, but we know a lot of sellers and we know a lot of influencers. So at Boss or outside of Boss, if there's somebody you're looking for, let us know and we're happy to make a connection. And we'll send people your way at Boss. Of course, we don't have a fancy backdrop like you do. We walk around with a portable recorder.
We have a fancy backdrop.
Not for the podcast. Can you get me one?
Of course.
Can you set that up?
Yes. Wait, am I going to be able to set this up? Is there going to be room to do this?
You're getting your own room. All the podcasts are getting a room.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
But we're all in the same room.
No, we're not.
So we can hear each other on our recordings.
We're all getting separate rooms. Some rooms are better than others. I did hear Maggie's room was the best.
Oh, what? I am shocked.
There you go.
I feel like you guys are rolling out the red carpet on every front. I'm like just blown away by it. So hopefully we do right by you guys.
They could just be giving me credit, Maggie. So who the heck knows? But I'm just saying, I heard through the grapevine.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And am I okay to like send stuff ahead of time? I got to call Vicky. I got to call Katie.
There you go. But I think all the podcasts should interview each other at the same time.
That would be fun.
But I will give you a tip. So the first year when I went, I brought all the stuff. I brought my mixer. I brought the fancy mics and the stands and all this. And we're all in the same room. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. Too much sound.
And then the second year I switched over to a portable recorder and it was fine. It's just easy. You go sit in a corner and because that's what I get. I get a corner now. Whatever corner's open, I take.
Am I okay to bring my mic then and just my laptop? I think that's what I'll do then.
You can if it's gonna work. I even have I've had my backup is always the phone, or I have the little mics for the phone. But we have hang on.
Yeah, show me your gear, Doug. I love talking to Doug because he's got all the newest stuff. Oh my gosh.
It
That
also
looks way high
has a
tech.
taser and a ghost detector as well.
Yeah, it looks a little
like
high
a
tech for
taser.
me. I'm just gonna bring my Yeti and hope and
There you
pray.
go. You should be fine if it plugs right in.
So,
And just yes. I used just StreamYard and would set stuff up, and you have it right there.
okay. I'm just gonna cross my fingers it works. And I'm just excited to get pictures and content and hopefully share some fun little quips. I mean, I really want to learn from some of these people on how they do the social medias and the TikToks and the web stuff. It's pretty incredible. All these influencers just do an incredible job. Did you see? I haven't told you about this, Doug. So we had one of our local influencers join us on local news. They asked us to do all the Taylor Swift eras outfits.
Oh wow.
She pulled, it was so cool. We did it for young mom, millennial, and a 13-year-old girl.
Awesome.
And it was super cute and just a super cool way. I think I'll share that in the marketing piece because I think that's one thing that people don't realize. Local news needs content so badly. It's a great way to get your name out there. So I'll use that. It's a good idea. Local news. Make notes.
It was your idea. Actually, it wasn't our idea. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to talk about music now. So if you need to go, that's fine.
What do I do not have ears? I have music. I have things to add about music.
So when Maggie and I first chatted, somehow we found out that we were both from Southern California, and we knew we had been at some of the same shows back in the 90s.
I know.
But
I heard that.
I'm also going to tell a little story.
Oh my gosh. Yay.
So probably about a month ago, one of my favorite San Diego bands, do you know Lucy's Fur Coat?
I have heard of this, yes.
So they were crazy band back in the mid 90s, and they got together for a couple shows at my favorite place in the world, the Casbah.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go down and see them. And they're all, I'm not going to say how old I am, but they're all my age too. So it was still crazy, but not like it used to be. And the crowd, you get bumped around a little bit. It wasn't too crazy, but I was right up front in front of the singer. And it's been like, I don't know, like 14 years since I've been to the Casbah, and I don't know how many years. I used to go to punk shows all the time and be up front and all that.
It's so dangerous now.
And then I eased off onto the side. So I get up front and I brace my leg against the stage. And I'm like, okay, just, and everything was fine. You get bumped a little bit, and they played like an hour and a half. And then they play the last song, which is that was kind of their alternative hit called Treasure Hands. And so I feel my watch vibrating, and I look, and I'm thinking somebody's calling me. And I look, and first of all, my watch is telling me that my heart rate is accelerated to 177.
Oh my
which
gosh.
apparently, as my wife said, is quite dangerous. And then so I look at that, and then the show ends, and they're like, "Thank you, good night, blah blah blah." And I step back, and it was like my whole leg was frozen.
No.
I had pulled a muscle in my calf, and I'm limping. My friend who was with me had to go outside because it was very hot in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I come out, he's like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "I don't know, my leg seized up."
Oh my gosh.
And I got a high heart rate warning. So
I just love a minute ago you didn't want to tell anyone how old you were. And then you told that story, my friend. They're going to think you're older than you are.
That's right.
That is an indicator. But yeah, I couldn't brave him anymore. I don't think I could do that anymore. I just don't think I could, unless it was something really great. My husband just sent me a note the other day because Richard Cheese is coming here. Do you know who that is?
Of course I do. You had to ask.
Like I even had to ask. So he's coming to Boulder. Yes. He's coming to Boulder. He's like, "You want to do it?" And I'm like, "Only in Boulder," because the other option was like Vegas or something. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm too old for Vegas."
Yeah. Ooh, how late's it going to be? Oh,
yes.
That's the other thing is, so we get the tickets, and it's like they're going on at 10 o'clock. We're like, 10
o'clock.
Usually in bed by then.
Yeah. 10 o'clock. That would be my cutoff. That's night time.
Is there a web login option? All right. So So we bonded over music,
Mhm.
90s SoCal. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I was thinking about it more, and you talked about social distortion, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, those Mike Ness shows that he used to do, like in Garden Grove, outside. I think we may have been at some of those together too. I mean, there were some oh my god, Doug! Every time I talk to you, I get all the feels. I'm like
Thank you so much.
transported back to my youth.
See
High
my
school.
jacket back there?
Oh, what does it say?
Social distortion.
Oh my gosh, you're a huge fan. So I was definitely thinking about Mike Ness, but I think we may have been like at some No Doubt shows back when Gwen was doing free shows at Cal State Fullerton and like all the places, where she'd be like in the bathroom with you, like just,
Not me.
with me.
Okay.
I saw them, No Doubt, open up for 311 before Tragic Kingdom dropped.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So we go to see why I'm seeing a 311 show. I don't even know how I ended up there, but it's in some random college in Massachusetts. And out comes this girl sweating, doing push-ups. And I literally said to my friend, I'm in love with her. Like, I love her.
The
Like,
best.
yes, I was
100%.
forget
100%.
311. Why are we here to see 311? Like, she's awesome.
She was a star, still is. Yeah. And back then she was so young, I mean, I was 16 ditching school in 93 trying to get to her show.
Wait.
All right.
Maggie
We're
needs
done.
to leave
We're
now.
done.
It's
Thank
over.
you.
It was a nice day, Maggie. You ruined it.
What? I thought you guys were in that same realm, maybe a few years
We are.
older.
No, we're in the same realm. We're just a little older than that realm.
Those
Yeah,
are like
I
the
get
best
half the seats in
times.
the shows.
Yeah. I already had a baby.
What? No.
My daughter was born in 92.
Yeah, I graduated in 94, and let me tell you, some great, great music in Southern California. But I had a girlfriend who moved to Hillsborough, New Jersey my junior year, and we would go out there and see some fun punk bands. God, let's see if I can remember some names. Doug, you're always so good at names. Operation Ivy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I loved them.
Yeah.
And we got to see them in in Hillsborough, New Jersey, of all places. My dad was a pilot, so I was able to kind of fly for free back then.
Okay.
But you didn't have to go anywhere. In Southern California, you could see the craziest bands. Bad Religion at San Diego State, middle of the night, ditching. Oh, mother, please God. Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No, I guarantee, like, yeah, if you saw Social D at that time, I would guarantee we had some shows. I've seen them like 20 something times. We
What a
talked
small
about
world.
Violent Femmes too.
Oh, the Violent Femmes. I've been seeing them on TikTok. They've had a little resurgence. The kids are like, my son is going to be 14 next month. And I know I'm probably responsible for like subliminally putting it in his head, but he's like coming along. Add it up. Prove your love to me, Like, you got it, bro. And I hear it on TikTok. He thinks it's a brand new song. And I'm like, no.
No, I know. I love that. I do. I love that.
Absolutely not. There is a lot of that happening. And although it's good that they're getting it, they literally think I'm lying when I say, no, that's an old song. That's my song, not your song.
Yeah. Turn it off. Yeah, my son's like on the cusp of getting his license, so he drives now, but he still needs somebody in there. So, and this is the story I tell. I used to be the coolest dude alive, and now I'm the geekiest, most annoying person alive.
Then you're doing something right.
That's right. When he's driving around, don't think I don't hear the occasional. It's mostly like rap and hip hop now, but don't think I don't hear that occasional Smith song or Duran Duran or stuff like that pops up in there. But I did ask him. Lucy's Fur Coat is playing one more show. It's Adams Avenue Street Festival. It's free. It's an all-day thing.
I used to live off Adams Avenue in 36th.
There you go. I played there once with a country band.
Oh my gosh.
So I asked him if he wanted to go. What are you rolling your eyes for, Trish? Don't think I don't see that.
It was the country part.
Yeah, it's an outlaw country band, the Six String Outlaws.
Ooh.
Yes. Anyway.
I gotta look that up.
Said to my son, you want to go to this show? It's free. It's all ages. Lucy's Goat's playing. Nope. Okay. All right, listen to your rap in your truck. You drive to school.
This is our only chance, like our last few, years to really sink in those, classics.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. We'll see though. We'll
Oh,
see.
now I got to listen to There's a Light That Never Goes Out. There's some just some absolute greatness out there. And our kids are really finding it. And I guess we should be grateful for TikTok that they've revised some of these things and make these kids think that they're new.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's definitely a thing. Rediscovering stuff on TikTok.
On the TikTok.
On the TikTok. And what is the Violent Femmes guy's name? He's got a funky first name. What is it? Gordon? Is it Gordon?
Gordon Gano.
Gano. That's it. God, Doug. I love listening to your, the albums that saved us.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's a joy, especially if you listen on Spotify so that you can hear the music. It's literally a joy. It brings you back to all those beautiful things. And I guess it is my brother being so much older than me. He shared a lot of those, really great things with me at a really young age, teaching me to drive and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. Well, you should come on. We could do a Dolly episode.
Oh, don't get me excited. I'm obsessed. And I love all her old stuff. And I actually have a Dolly story. I went to see her for my 40th birthday. It's been 5 years now, or 6 years. Got to look at my calendar. You don't remember how old you are anymore. I don't.
I do.
But I saw her at Red Rocks. And if you haven't seen a show at Red Rocks,
Wow.
it's a religious experience. I made my family go. My mother could barely walk. I made my whole family attend this show. And I brought posters with the 2 songs that I wanted to hear. And I have a girlfriend who was sitting several rows in front of me because she has tons more money than me. She took a picture of me, and every year on my birthday, which is next week, you'll see it. She always shares it on my Instagram page or my Facebook page. But it's me alone standing in the middle of Red Rocks holding up this sign. And it's one of my favorite things.
That's awesome.
She sang the song too.
What was it?
The Seeker. The Seeker, it's called. Nice. It's a great song. It's one of her older ones, and it's just it has a great message. It's something my grandmother used to sing. My grandmother used to sing all Dolly stuff. She was definitely into one of the first times I really figured out who Dolly was. My dad let my sister and I watch The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, best Dolly movie of all time.
I love that.
The most incredible. I mean, I know people love Steel Magnolias. They love 9 to 5, but The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas is the most underrated movie of our time. The most epic music. It's phenomenal.
And it was one of those, this is back in the day when HBO was one channel and it wasn't like demand, but they had like a handful of movies that were on all the time.
That was
one of them.
Interesting.
I've seen it quite a bit, so maybe that's why.
The first time I saw it was on regular primetime TV, so it was totally edited for, TV. And I bought it years ago to give to my dad. I watched it with him and I went, wow, this is really inappropriate. How is it on TV?
So
well, and the TV version is The Best Little Warehouse in Texas.
So I was obsessed with James Bond as a child. I mean, I still am obsessed with James Bond movies, but as a child, we had a Betamax. Ooh. And I recorded off the television Diamonds Are Forever, which of course was edited for television. And when I watched that so much on that Betamax. In my head, I'm like, oh, that part wasn't in it. Oop, that's a commercial. That's where it starts. Like,
you know the deal.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. This is like ingrained in.
Our kids have no idea. They watch all this stuff on streaming. They just don't understand the struggles that we went through.
But they also will never understand how everyone has the same experience. They'll never understand how we all watched certain things on TV at a certain time.
Yes.
They'll never get that,
and recorded music on our boom boxes and called into the radio station.
Waiting for that song to come and hitting play, and you'd be so excited that you got it. Yeah, they'll just never get that.
I remember way back when I had to be 12 or 13, and I would call the radio station every afternoon, and they got to know me. I would either request Styx's Mr. Roboto or David Bowie's Let's Dance.
Oh my God.
I would like to hear Let's Dance, please. And it was a small desert town, so it was like,
They're like, hi, Doug. How are you? How was school?
I'm fine, thank you. I would really like to hear Let's Dance by David Bowie.
And the joy we got from that moment, you know, and then it's gone. It's
That's
just,
right.
it's so funny. Now they just scream at Alexa to play the song that they want. And I
It's
roll
cute.
my eyes.
It's true. Maggie, do you have anything else you would like to add to this lovely conversation?
I mean, you guys are an absolute delight. It doesn't even feel like we've been chatting for this long. I hope I didn't go too long. I'm sorry. We
No,
get
you
off
were
on a
great.
tangent, but this is always so fun. And you guys get what I do and live what I do. So it's even more fun to chat with you. So thank you.
Thank you. And for my second podcast ever, Maggie, I appreciate it. It was a joy. I really had fun. Douglas, thank you for putting up with me as usual.
Of course. And also to you, Trish.
Yep.
And yeah, Maggie, thanks for coming on. It was a ton of fun. And we will also see you at Boss Reseller Remix.
Yay!
Can't wait. Can't wait to meet you guys in person. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.